Good evening, this is Maestro Critello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 1v1 on Quest Heresy, featuring For7une as this Plague Champion. The Plague Champion is a ranged hero, or at least he starts out that way. He can be upgraded to get melee weapons, he can also be upgraded to become a lot tankier, to heal, and he can also build turrets and support vehicles. For7une's opponent is HomeIsForTheHeartless, as this tunneling Ravener Alpha, a tunneling hero who has the ability to make tunnels. I've said tunnel a lot. He can use that to let his units get around, and it's basically like having 3 webway gates that can be crushed. The Ravener Alpha, I think he primarily is a ranged hero, but he can definitely do some melee as well. So, this is featuring For7une. For7une is an interesting player. He talks to me a lot on Steam, and often he'll be saying things in Steam messages, and I won't respond too much, but eventually I will. He's kind of like an evil genius of Dawn of War 2. He teamed with Tex in a tournament, in a 2v2 tournament, and that was a combination that to me made a lot of sense, since Tex is like an evil genius of Dawn of War 2, and so is For7une. For7une isn't quite as well known and not as highly regarded, but he's still good. I like the guy, although he does weird me out a little bit at times. But in any case, For7une does have a very standard Chaos build. He's got double Heretics and a single Chaos Space Marine squad. Yeah, I was going to say he should start worshipping with those Heretics so he can start getting the range, basically just start healing his Chaos Space Marines. And his Chaos Space Marines getting healed while also in cover will win quite majorly over the Termagants. That being said, For7une is going to lose one of those Heretic squads, and I was a little sad to see that. And I think what he should have done there... Ooh, but let's look at that Blight Grenade in retreat. Not the greatest grenade, but I think what For7une should have done there was that he should have stopped worshipping with his other Heretic squad as well, and then had both of his Heretics swarm that one Hormigant squad. I think at that point the Chaos Space Marines were fine against the Termagants, and the bigger threat was actually the Hormigants. He should have stopped worshipping with the worshipping Heretic squad, and then swarm the Hormigants with both Heretic squads. I think that would have turned the engagement significantly in his favor. I think it would actually be, if anything, I think it could have gone the opposite way, where HomeIsForTheHeartless could have lost his Hormigants, while For7une would have kept his Heretics. So For7une is now putting an aspiring champion on this Heretic squad. It will significantly improve the survivability of the Heretics. Now the Chaos Space Marines are definitely overwhelmed. Needs to get those Heretics in there so they can Doom Blast, buy the Chaos Space Marines time. And at this point, yeah, those Chaos Space Marines need to just get out of there. And a second Heretic wipe. Wow, For7une, surprised to see For7une lose 2 Heretic squads. Now, I mean, Heretics are very cheap in the Elite mod, which, I mean, to some extent I feel they should be, given how incredibly soft they are, with 75 health per model. So you can kind of afford to lose 1 Heretic squad, but losing 2 is definitely going to hurt you, especially when you had an aspiring champion on that squad. Now, For7une certainly going to be behind a bit in units and tech, I think, because he's lost 2 squads. He's invested in Blight Grenades on his Plague Champion, which is a good idea. I like Blight Grenades a lot. It's an area of effect grenade that does damage over time and infects units, and any units that are infected will pass on the infection to any other unit they touch. I think that is friend or foe, in fact. Luckily, Tex knows to actually Doom Blast in retreat. Does get a few he got 2 models off those Termagants. Will he wipe this one? Certainly comes close. Wow, I'm actually surprised that he didn't wipe that Termagant brood, given that he had 2 Heretics there that could Doom Blast in retreat. I definitely saw at least 1 do it. For7une actually seems to be doing pretty well despite losing 2 Heretic squads. Now, when you are using heretics, there are times when you basically just have to send them in, Doom Blast, and retreat. So, I think For7une is having a little bit of trouble at this point. He's mainly relying on those heretics as melee control against HomeIsForTheHeartless's melee units. That's basically just what he has to deal with the warriors as well as the Hormagaunts. He doesn't have a Havoc. He doesn't have any melee war gear on his Plague Champion, at least not yet. So HomeIsForTheHeartless actually winning so far. I'm not familiar with HomeIsForTheHeartless. For7une is a good player. Let's see, For7une actually going to Tier 2, despite losing 2 Heretic squads. HomeIsForTheHeartless does have the resources to go to Tier 2. So surprising to see For7une keep pace in somehow tech to Tier 2, despite losing those 2 squads. And despite it seeming like he doesn't even have what he needs to take care of the Tyranid army here. Now, I think maybe one of the issues, though, that HomeIsForTheHeartless has is that he actually does not have Toxin Sacs on his Termagant broods. Not on either one of them. And that's going to be a little bit... that's going to hurt him because, first of all, Termagants by default, they actually do pretty bad damage. They have like scout damage. It's bad. Giving them those Toxin Sacs improves their damage by quite a bit. It's a 45% increase. It also grants the Crippling Poison ability, which would be really good against the Heretics. And right now, For7une hasn't even been doing that well with his Heretics. So if he throws in the Crippling Poison ability on the Termagants as well, but now we have Touch of Nurgle just right away, right here. Will it actually take... No, it's not going to take out the Hormagaunts, but it takes out a few models and actually really scared off HomeIsForTheHeartless. Now, HomeIsForTheHeartless, he had an advantage in terms of how many... He wiped 2 squads, but he's getting to Tier 2 later. Part of it was just because he just didn't really notice. Touch of Nurgle. I've said before that Touch of Nurgle is an engagement winner. Just don't mess with it. If you have to deal with Touch of Nurgle, don't. At least that's my opinion. There are the better ways I think you can deal with it without straight up retreating would be to use some kind of snare. Now, Crippling Poison actually is a snare, so he could use that to keep the Touch of Nurgle Heretics at bay, especially when he's got 2 squads that can do it. Plague Champion does come pretty close to dying, but he does get out of there. Heretics are still on the field, but they are somewhat isolated, and HomeIsForTheHeartless a little bit slow on the use of that Crippling Poison. Ooh, but we do have now, looks like the Warriors do have the Adrenal Gland, will buff themselves as well as any Tyranid melee units in range, mainly Hormagaunts. It might actually say it specifically, nearby melee Tyranids, so just all melee Tyranids. And Tex actually has quite a bit of map control. I mean, not Tex. For7une, I'm confusing them. So, For7une is now getting melee war gear for the Plague Champion. He's going for that Plague Fist. I'm guessing he did not want to invest in the Plague Sword just because he didn't want to spend those resources and then have those resources be sunk when he would eventually change to the Plague Fist. That Plague Fist is a power fist for the Plague Champion. Does do heavy melee damage, so it can function as AV, but typically that's not how the Plague Champion works out. The Plague Fist is mainly used as a defensive weapon against other melee units. Basically using that ability, the Pestilent Strike ability, to stun melee units that get in range of the Plague Champion, and then just using the attack to do a lot of damage to whatever melee units are around. And usually, if you're going to have that Plague Fist, you're usually going to combine it either with the Icon of Nurgle, which will do damage over time in an area, particularly good against weaker melee units like Hormagaunts, Sluggas, and such. Or you would use the mucus discharge so that the Plague Champion can heal and not die in melee. You might also want to get an armor upgrade as well. Another touch of Nurgle. I think that might actually wipe those Hormagaunts. No, the Hormagaunts do get out of there, but again, that touch of Nurgle ability really is an engagement winner. And I mean, For7une is riding. He's actually just riding a lot on that touch of Nurgle. Now, I am a little surprised to see the Plague Marines out. That is a very, very curious choice to get in Tier 2 as Tyranids with no actual... first of all, Tyranids do not have anything with vehicle armor in Tier 2. The closest thing they have to it is the Tyrant Guard, but the Tyrant Guard is super heavy infantry. And Chaos already has better super heavy infantry counters in the form of Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. So I'm really surprised to see that Plague Marine squad. And I honestly don't know why I did it. I mean, it did help him bash generators there. I guess one thing is that it will be very good for destroying those Ravener tunnels. We also had a relatively late Havoc, a Tier 2 Havoc out. I don't disagree with that at all, though. The Havoc will just help to control all these units. Great suppression team. Suppresses instantly. Not great for doing damage, but great for suppressing. I mean, on basically the upside of the Plague Marines is that it will be useful in Tier 3 if and when Home of Heartless decides to get a Carnifex or a Swarm Lord. It won't be enough, but at least it'll give him something. Some of the observers are actually talking like they don't know why For7une got the Plague Marine either, and it's definitely on paper not the greatest choice that you could make as Chaos against Tyranids in Tier 2. In Tier 3 against a Carnifex, maybe, but in Tier 2, when your opponent does not have... only has regular infantry, it is a very curious choice. But I mean, he did destroy HomeIsForTheHeartless' entire power farm. I guess that is what he did with it. And he's got... For7une now has massive map control. Has not captured this side VP, though. Actually went for HomeIsForTheHeartless' natural, and did get it. Oh, there is a Nurgle Shrine. Chaos Space Marines also have been upgraded to the Mark of Tzeentch. Ooh, let's see, those heretics definitely in a little bit of trouble there. Biting off a little more than they can chew. HomeIsForTheHeartless has his entire army over here, so he will certainly not have map control with his army over here, but he certainly will win an engagement against a single heretic squad. So For7une right there, he's actually was combining the suppression from the Havoc with that Blight Grenade, basically just making it easy for him to land that Blight Grenade. The Plague Champion should go now, though. That might actually be a wipe on him. No, he actually does get Pestilence Strike off, so that does prevent the Warriors from killing him because it stunned them, and then they actually got suppressed by the Havocs. So For7une doing pretty well at this point. Now a Lictor out. I don't even know where that Lictor is for HomeIsForTheHeartless. Can't even select it. Oh, it must be in a tunnel. And oh wow, a turret as well, covering that approach. So For7une, he obviously had a very weak start, but right now he's dominating pretty hard, I think. I mean, the VPs are still even, but the map control is massively in favor of For7une. He's definitely... I mean, the tech advantage that HomeIsForTheHeartless had is basically gone at this point. And it is very curious to see HomeIsForTheHeartless get that Lictor. I mean, it is going to... Certainly right now with that turret right there, a Carnifex would have been better, especially with For7une still having relatively minimal AV. He does have the Plague Marines, and he does have that Plague Fist Plague Champion. But that, so far, is definitely not enough to take on a Carnifex. And of course, he could put a las cannon on this Havoc, which would be very good, but he'd be giving up the suppression, and that will allow the rest of Home is for the Heartless's army to run around a little bit more freely. So I'm a little curious. Some weird choices. That Plague Marine was a strange choice. And now Home is for the Heartless, I feel like a strange choice with the Lictor, as well as the Doom of Malantai. I think he actually does need a Carnifex, or a Swarmlord. He needs something that can just go over here and just whack on this heavy bolter turret and kill it. Plague Champion way overextended, and probably will die this time. Yeah, that's a dead Plague Champion. Don't know what For7une was doing. Probably trying some gimmick, or I don't know. But For7une does have the entire map. He is winning. But For7une is also getting to the point where you could buy either a Great Unclean one, or a Land Raider Phobos. I know my Land Raiders, but sometimes I just have trouble getting the right word out. And another touch of Nurgle. Again, that is such a good ability. Oh! That was awesome. So I think that Tyrannoformation was getting it's getting model kills on that Heretic squad. So it's actually causing them to explode and have that touch of Nurgle effect. I believe that is the Psychic Storm ability from this Doom of Malantai. So, Doom of Malantai, new unit in the Elite mod. Tyranids finally do get a new unit. It's basically a super zoanthrope. I don't know too much about it aside from that. It does look pretty cool, but I mean, I don't really like Tyranids that much. And this turret is still up. Home is for the Heartless should do something about it so that his units can just walk in and deal with it. Or at least not even have to deal with it. Home is for the Heartless, actually going to get a 2-cap, so he's staying in this game somehow. This Lictor just standing here, I don't like that. I mean, it ultimately gets in, but it takes a lot of health damage. And not that the Lictor will bleed if he doesn't, not that the Lictor will bleed, but now he has to go back to base to heal. So I'm trying to see, yeah, that's one of the Doom of Malantai's ability, that Psychic Storm. Now, unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about the Doom of Malantai. He did appear to take a direct missile hit right there. I don't know if he's supposed to, although if he does take damage from AV weapons, then he will be very vulnerable to AV weapons. We do have that Land Raider Phobos out right now, and I think Home is for the Heartless. Yeah, I was going to say he needs to respect this Land Raider Phobos a little bit more. Either not let it get this close or get his units out of there. How long does that Dirge Caster go on? So that Dirge Caster, an ability for the Land Raider Phobos, does stun units in an area.
Prepare the autocannons.
Havocs are actually getting an autocannon. So Home is for the Heartless, staying in this game. He's actually staying in on the VPs with some backcapping, which is pretty good for him. But he does have to worry about these heretics in his retreat path. We did have that, oh, and here's a Blight Grenade in retreat. Slightly misses. He misjudged. The Hormigons ran around on the other side of those pipes. Now, Home is for the Heartless. He's staying in this game, but he's also blobbing his army up and attacking one place. And he will win the engagement on that side, but he's having trouble with map control. The map control has been in favor of For7une for a long time now. For7une, or Home is for the Heartless, definitely did have a win just taking out a Tzeentch Chaos Spaceman squad. Now, Psychic Storm does go off right here. I don't know what that does to vehicles. Ooh, but we now have a Plague Cloud. I'm surprised to see that. And I'm certainly surprised to see it on these tougher Tyranid units instead of on the Termagants, because that's really where the Plague Cloud will be doing better, since it will be wiping those Termagant models and even threatening to wipe the squad if Home is for the Heartless is not careful. This Lictor is in a lot of trouble, taking a lot of damage. To my knowledge, the Lictor is now power melee in the Elite mod, which means it will not be as effective. Wow, a nice Blight Grenade on those Termagants. Plague Champion does not have an armor upgrade. I thought we would see an armor upgrade. Just to help make that Plague Champion a little tankier. He still only has 749 health. Not that much, especially considering he's now a melee hero and a very slow one. So Home is for the Heartless still managing to have the VPs. I'm actually really surprised to see For7une not go over here and just get this point while he has the field presence. Use the Plague Marines. The Plague Marines don't really have a worthwhile target at this point, so they should be capping. It does look like he is going to use them to cap over here, which is good. Unfortunately, Home is for the Heartless still seems to be... He is blobbing up a lot. I mean, I guess in a way you are supposed to blob up quite a bit as Tyranids, but he needs to start attacking and taking back the map. For7une getting a late game Havoc squad now. Again, that's something that I'm really surprised to see. A late game Raptor squad, considering, in my opinion at least, Bloodletters are the better jump unit. The main advantage that Raptors have is that you can get them in Tier 1. We're well past Tier 1, so I don't know if he plans to put Meltaguns on there, but what does he need Meltaguns for? So Home is for the Heartless is now pushing forward, and he's actually winning. I thought that engagement was going to go more in favor of For7une. These warriors are getting to the point, though. Yeah, they are starting to lose models, and now that Doom of Malantai is in trouble. I was going to say that could be a dead Doom of Malantai, and it is. Wow. And it just explodes right there. So Doom of Malantai on the ground. I thought we might even see Touch of Nurgle there, but it wasn't even necessary. And I could tell that Doom of Malantai was clearly overextended. The Doom of Malantai... Oh, no, and that's going to be a dead Lictor as well, I think. Heretics just need to turn around and attack it. They can't Doom Blast, but that Aspiring Champion, it does take out that Lictor. Big losses for Home is for the Heartless, and he actually does call a GG, apparently. Game is still going. Yeah, and that is the end of the game. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.